For pretty much my entire life, I've always been able to remember my dreams for some reason, and I've had some extremely vivid ones. When I was a kid, I can recall 2 or 3 times when I had lucid dreams, where I could control the dream. I could fly around the place, control the dream environment around me. It was like a godlike power for a few moments. And these instances happened entirely by accident. I never experienced them again, incidentally. There's some people who do manage to intentionally create these lucid dream episodes, though making it happen is apparently extremely difficult and requires the person to wake themselves intentionally and keep a detailed record of their dreams in a journal. Then they go back to sleep again, and eventually the subconscious mind begins to notice patterns in the dreams, common dream signs, which inform the dreamer that they are in fact dreaming. And there's other techniques also, but suffice to say, actively trying to lucid dream isn't easy and often results in quite a bit of lost sleep. Now, speaking of the subconscious, many dreams I've had have helped me figure out real-world problems or revealed ways of thinking about things I hadn't consciously considered during the day, which demonstrated the power of the subconscious, especially the way in which dreams often work by using symbolism. This is the main reason why I personally always connected with the Christopher Nolan 2010 sci-fi action film Inception, a film that explores the concept and complexity of the dream world. The film is about a professional thief named Dominic Cobb, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who works with a team to enter other people's dreams, infiltrate their subconscious minds, and steal information. And the primary job that he undertakes in this film requires him to plant an idea in a person's mind, make them think that they came up with the idea themselves. Cillian Murphy's character of Robert Fisher is about to inherit his father's corporate empire, and a business rival named Saito, played by Ken Watanabe, wants Cobb to convince Fisher to break up his father's company. This is an especially difficult task given that Fisher had a strained relationship with his father, and so influencing him takes considerable ingenuity. Cobb and his team have perfected a military technique of dream sharing, and Cobb himself was an architect who can build dream environments, believable worlds. In this respect, the film has a kind of Matrix quality to it. The film opens by giving us a demonstration of how this concept works. Cobb and his colleague Arthur, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, are speaking with Saito in an undisclosed palatial mansion, which could also be a hotel or something. Cobb explains that he can train Saito's subconscious to resist even the best dream extractors. He can help to strengthen his mind's defenses against anyone who would try to steal his secrets in his sleep. Secrets are often kept in a person's mind, locked away in a safe in their dreams. Cobb tells him that in order to help him learn how to protect his mind, he has to first let him in completely. While this is happening, we see the events taking place in the real world. Cobb, Arthur, and Saito are in an apartment in an undisclosed city, while another member of the team maintains their vitals. But outside, there appears to be a violent mob approaching their location. In the dream, Cobb is rumbled and has to make a break for it, but not before he runs into a beautiful woman named Moll, played by Marion Cotillard. She seems to have a knack for showing up at the worst possible times in these kinds of missions. She's actually Cobb's deceased wife. She haunts him in his subconscious and often sabotages his missions. Why this is happening is explained later in the movie and forms the basis of the B-plot and an intense character backstory for Dominic Cobb. The mission goes south, and so the team are forced to wake up when Saito's subconscious starts to attack them. What I love about the film is the complex and believable world building. Christopher Nolan did an amazing job developing the film's dream science and the technical details of how it all works. The target subject's dream is populated by random people. These could be pedestrians walking down the streets of a city, or essentially they're like non-playable background characters in a public setting. They're actually manifestations of a person's subconscious, and if the subconscious starts to suspect that the dream world is being altered by an outside influence, or that the subject's mind is being infiltrated, they lash out at the invader like the body's immune system fighting off an infection. That's what's actually happening in the so-called real world with the violent mob. The safe house they're in is also an illusion, and when they wake up, Saito realizes this because he knows certain details in the room are wrong, like the texture of the carpet. The team is actually asleep on a train. So it was a dream within a dream. This is a good introduction for the audience because there's going to be plenty of dreams within dreams later in the movie. 2 levels deep at this point, but more levels later in the movie. The deeper you go, the more layers you add, the more time in the dream world slows down relative to the real world. Turns out Saito set the whole thing up as a test for Cobb. He wants Cobb to do an Inception on Fisher, and this was a recruitment exercise. Cobb is desperate to return to the US, but can't because he's wanted for the murder of his wife, Moll. He left his children behind and is haunted not only by Moll's memory, but also by a recurring image of his children playing in the garden just before he left home. Saito claims he can somehow give him his life back, pull some strings, and allow Cobb to return to the US if he takes on this Inception job and implants the idea in Fisher's mind to break up his father's company. Cobb reluctantly agrees to take on the job, but needs to first recruit a team of specialists, each with unique skills. That's the basic introduction to the film and its concept. Essentially, the film is a heist thriller movie with a unique sci-fi component to it, and the premise offers plenty of opportunity for fantastic action set pieces. Although the primary driving narrative focuses on the inception and the infiltration of Fisher's mind and his relationship with his father, the B-plot comes into much greater significance later in the movie. Now, I can relate to the idea of a dream within a dream and situations where you struggle to tell reality from the dream world. I remember about 10 years ago working in an especially stressful and unpleasant corporate job. You know, those kinds of jobs that fill you with a strong sense of Monday morning dread every Sunday evening. I recall these episodes where I would wake up, quote unquote, go downstairs to the kitchen and make breakfast, and then go to the office. I'd sit at my desk and everything, only to then wake up for real and discover I just dreamt all of that. So I can kind of relate to that aspect of the story. Now, to verify that a character is awake, what they do in this film is they make use of totems, small, unique items that a person must keep on them at all times, and no one else will know about this. So Arthur makes use of a loaded die. Cobb uses a spinning top. In the dream world, it spins and spins indefinitely, but in the real world, it eventually stops, obviously, and falls over. This is how Cobb knows if he's awake. Now, the Fisher Inception job becomes increasingly derailed by the unwanted presence of Moll, and she's being conjured by Cobb's subconscious. It's in fact so bad that he has to enlist the help of a third party to build the dream world environments because he simply can't trust his own subconscious mind to keep Moll out. In this respect, Cobb has become a liability. He's locked the memory of Moll away in a series of constructed environments. All of them are aspects of his memories of her, places he used to spend time with her. So what happened was that years ago, Cobb and the real Moll essentially lived a lifetime together in a constructed dream. They had gone many, many layers deep, all the way down to a state called limbo, which is unconstructed dream space. They even grew old together. He felt that they'd become lost in this illusion and they needed to escape, but Moll couldn't accept that. So Cobb broke into a deep recess within her mind and planted an idea, an inception. This was the first time he'd ever done this. He convinced her of the truth, that her world wasn't real, and so they both agreed to wake themselves up by lying on a train track, because dying in the dream wakes you up. So they woke up, but Moll was never the same. She couldn't accept reality. She still believed she was dreaming because Cobb had essentially inserted an unending virus in her mind, and it destroyed her. Of course, he never intended for this to happen. He just wanted to wake her up one time. Now, one night in a hotel room where they were celebrating their anniversary, she threatened to jump out of a window to her death, and she wanted him to jump with her. She was so desperate for him to do this that she framed him, filing a letter with their attorney that she feared for her safety and that he threatened to kill her. This was to leave him with no other choice. Moll ultimately commits suicide, believing that her world wasn't real. Cobb couldn't forgive himself, and something of Moll remained within him. a shadow of the real woman constructed from his memories. In some respects, that's kind of reminiscent to how dead people were replicated in the film Solaris, based on people's memories. It's an extremely tragic and moving love story between Mal and Cobb. He unintentionally destroyed the woman he loved. Now, a piece of her, buried in his mind, is slowly destroying him in a similar cancerous fashion. The performances of both Leonardo DiCaprio and Marianne Cotillard are fantastic and deeply intense. Marianne Cotillard is especially wonderful, playing the beautiful femme fatale role, but at the same time offering an understated and often terrifying quality to Mal. The character is so frighteningly unstable and menacing at times, especially in her scenes with the character of Ariadne. In many ways, she serves as a villain in the story, but by the end, you really have sympathy for her. She's a victim of a heartbreaking situation caused by an act of love that had some profound and unexpected consequences. The film is sometimes criticized for being difficult to follow in places, especially in the film's third act, where the team have gone several dream layers deep, and if your attention drifts for a minute or two, I can see why you could lose the thread of the narrative, asking yourself, whose dream are they in now? Why is Arthur tying them all together in an elevator? Why is he setting explosives? Why are they falling into water in the back of a van? So it's another film where your full concentration is required for the duration. But I personally love that about the film because I want to be challenged by movies. You have to be fully engaged. I never found Inception particularly difficult to follow, to be honest. It's not nearly as complex as something like Memento, another of Nolan's classics, but Inception is certainly not super straightforward to fully explain. The film is also memorable for not only its extraordinarily imaginative and jaw-dropping visuals, thanks to the unlimited potential of the dream world, but also because of how perfectly the visuals fit with Hans Zimmer's unforgettable soundtrack. He really has created a beautiful soundscape in this film. And of course the track Time is just an epic piece of music which has been used in lots of internet memes over the years. Inception is another example of the perfect merger of sound and film together to produce something that takes the drama and emotion of the story to another level. And that feels very appropriate to me because this is a film about dreams, and one of the most powerful things we remember from our dreams is the imagery from them, because it feels as though Christopher Nolan has achieved something magical with Inception. He's captured a dream on film. Inception is without doubt among my top 5 favourite films, probably top 3 to be honest. It's another Nolan masterpiece. And yes, of course, the frustrating question at the end is it still a dream? Has Cobb in fact woken up? I guess some people feel that tease was kind of unnecessary, but I just don't see how the film could have ended any other way. Maybe I'm a sucker for a happy ending, but I personally do believe that the totem did fall over after the credits rolled. It's ultimately an extremely intelligent movie, and one that has left audiences still coming up with interesting theories to this day. Nolan occasionally likes to sow seeds of doubt here and there into his stories, and there's a few moments like that in Inception. For example, when his father, played by Michael Caine, tells him to come back to reality, or when he's chased by an anonymous group of men in the streets of Mombasa. We're led to believe these men are operatives of Cobol Engineering, but at the end of the film, it's worth noting something that the projection of Mal says to him. She says, "No creeping doubts, not feeling persecuted, Dom, chased around the globe by anonymous corporations and police forces, the way the projections persecute the dreamer. Admit it, you don't believe in one reality anymore. So choose to be here, choose me." This is certainly a very compelling and thought-provoking theory. Is he actually dreaming the events of the entire film, or just most of it? But anyway, that's enough head scratching for one video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.